We didn't, when we were kids, grow up to think, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a drug addict, in Hastings. You know what I mean? Like, it's just we ended up being that way through our pain and our difficulties.
Nice to meet you, Charlene.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me today and tell me something about yourself.
You're welcome.
So, first, let's get a wider view here so we can show that you've got two lovely creatures with you today. And
this is Mayhem and this is Luna.
Oh, that's Mayhem?
Yeah, Mayhem is
And
3 years old. I've had him since he was 8 weeks. And this is Luna. I rescued her when she was 2 years old, and I've had her for 8 years now.
Did you say Lena?
Luna.
Luna, okay. Oh, and how old is Luna?
She's 10.
10, okay. You rescued Luna. Oh, very nice. Nice companionship. Very sweet, sweet puppies. All right. So, can you tell me just whatever you're comfortable with about your childhood? Where were you born? What was life like in your childhood?
Well, I was born in North Ontario, and I moved to Edmonton when I was about 4. My earliest memory actually was like being in the bar in the passenger side where your feet go for the 4-day trip. And me and my brother, we were sleeping like upside down. We got to Edmonton, and my dad was very abusive towards my mom. I remember that. And then my mom, she was a Harley mechanic, and she wasn't very nice. She used to leave me to watch my sister a lot at home, leave me at home sometimes for 2 days.
Sister?
My younger sister, I was about 8, and my sister was about 2. And I have an older brother, 2 a year and a half older than me. But yeah, she would leave me for like a week and a half, sometimes 2 weeks. And when she came home, everything had to be very clean. Otherwise, I got beat.
So you say your mother was a harsh person.
Yeah, she didn't really she wanted to do her own thing, and she didn't really want to raise children. So she put like her clothes on me, like from when she was younger, so I wouldn't be popular in school. At least I think that's what it was. Or maybe she couldn't afford the clothes, but she was always mean to me. And my brothers and sisters, they never really got hit, right, which is good. And later on in life, I realized it's because she needed me to listen to what she wanted me to do, because she really just wanted to do her own thing. And so she'd leave for like a day. Sometimes she'd leave for 2 days. Sometimes she'd be gone a week, or a week or two. And when she got back, like, she'd bring guys home. And I actually just had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, because she'd make them take their clothes up downstairs, and I'd go and dig in their pockets and steal all their money when I was younger, right? And like my mom, she never told me, like, she never mentioned it to me and she had to have known I was doing this, right? Like, and I asked my friend, I'm like, why do you think my mom like never said anything to me about it? And she's like, it was hush money. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, well, because you like your mom didn't have food on the table, and you know what I mean. So that was her way of kind of like supporting you, letting you see. You know what I mean, so and it makes sense, right?
Okay, so you'd go and take some money.
I could take the money.
Fend for you and your siblings.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Wow, so she put you in charge of your siblings, or your younger sister at least.
Yeah, and I missed school half the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And like, yeah, when she came home, if the house wasn't she was a clean freak. If the house wasn't immaculately clean, she would wake me up out of my bed and she'd beat me. She one time.
Okay, so she's physically abusive, emotionally abusive.
The bathroom wasn't clean to her understanding, and she dragged me out of bed and she started to drown me in a bucket of bleach water. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's okay.
Okay, so really rough childhood you had. And what was your father like?
I never knew my father very much, but my mom told me he was dead when I was about 19, and I was volunteering at the Union Gospel Mission over here, the old one, when I was 23, and I was giving out coffee, and my dad comes in, and I thought he was dead for at least 4 years at this time, and he's like, hey there, good looking, and I was like, and he left, and I went into the back and I talked to the worker, and then I went out to look for him, and he was gone. And then I ended up 2 weeks later, I looked everywhere for him. 2 weeks later, I saw him again. He was riding by on his bike, and he's like, hey there, good looking. And he's like, hey, stop, do you know who I am? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you know what I mean? And then he comes and see me move into his SRO with him, so we both give it, because he didn't crack, right? And so we both would get extra money back, right? And the place was like just a mess, and I don't know. He was kind of weird, like, so that's why I moved out, right? It was because it was kind of like, it was more like I don't know, like it didn't feel right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like because I was never there, and there was no reason for him to really, like, he's my dad, right?
And so he was using.
He was using,
like
he was
say.
really bad. Like he'd put any little piece of like lint or anything in his pipe.
And were you using something at the time?
Yeah, I
as
was
well?
using it as well. Yeah. I was using crack. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about now? Are you using?
I started
anything?
using down about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And where are you staying these days?
I got a place at the Vernon Modules.
All right.
Yeah.
And how is that there?
I don't know. I was at the other modules at Canby before. I think they don't really, they call it a program, but they don't really do anything but capitalize off it. I'm not saying I got a place to live, yeah, but like I don't feel like they really. It's just to make money. I don't think they're really there to help us.
Okay. All right. So you got a place to live. You got a place for your dogs there as well.
Yeah.
And you get provided some meal
Yes.
support.
Yeah. But like at the old modules, they had actually good food, right? Luna, babe, come sit down. Luna, come on, baby girl. Luna, hey Luna, come on, baby. We'll play later. Come sit down. Good girl. Good girl, baby. I know. I know you're bored. Come on, baby.
Very sweet.
Come on. Come sit down, mommy. Hey, ma'am, you wanna come sit down, mommy? Hey, come sit down, mommy. Hey, ma'am, you wanna come sit down, mommy? Come sit down, mommy. Hey, come on. Come sit. Come on. He's my lap dog. Come on. Here. Come on. Now we know. You gotta sit down now, baby. Good boy.
Oh, they're so well behaved.
They're so chill, I know, because I'm super chill. So. Yeah, I drive a hard bargain because I don't want my dogs. Like, there's so much misconceptions about people. It's not even funny. I mean, it's not the dog, it's the owner. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they have a tendency of being more protective, and you know what I mean, because they're very, you know what I mean. But they're not, it's really the owner. Like, if the owner loves their dogs enough to make sure that they're not aggressive, and if they just happen to, Luna, come lay down. Luna, come on. Luna, come on. I know, baby, you're bored, but you're like, hey, come on, let's go, mommy. She's a little withdrawn. She was really abused before I got her. Oh. So he's like, here I am, play with me, and she's like quiet in the background.
So you were saying that you had to be homeless for a little bit when you had
3
to
months I was
go
homeless,
out of the one place. And where did you stay then? Shelters?
Pretty much in a tent because I have 2 dogs, and not a lot of shelters will take somebody with 2 dogs, right?
Okay.
I stayed up at the 265 shelter for a bit, but it's like I'm mostly in a tent because it's really stressful for my dogs because there's a lot of mentally ill people.
Yeah.
And it scares them, you know, because they're not used to that. They're used to being like in stable homes, so they like people be screaming all the time, hours of the night, and so I tried to protect them from that. So we mostly just stayed in a tent. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, getting just back to a couple things. We won't go back too much in your childhood because that's hard to talk about. But you went to school, and how did school go? Okay, did you find it okay to get through some studies, or is it just too tough because you missed too much?
I went and got my GED when I was 18, 19, but I quit school at grade 5.
Right.
Like I quit school like when I got apprehended by child welfare when my brother was in Ontario and my sister was with her dad. We had different dads, and my mom, she beat me up so bad like one morning that they came and they apprehended me, and I'd go to school, but I'd say I was sick and I'd sleep in the nurse's office the whole time, right? Oh. And before that, my mom, I was usually watching my sister, so I didn't get to go to school most of the time, right? If there was nobody else to watch it, right? So I didn't miss a lot of schooling, but I love reading, and I've always been a good reader, so that helped me when I came to studies for my GED. But,
oh, great!
Yeah,
good for you for going back and getting that.
I was pregnant with my son at the time, so I was clean, so it was easy for me. I mean, it was easier because I was clean. I had to be clean because I had a baby in me. So.
Oh, so you were pregnant?
I was pregnant
when
I was 15 years old.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in child welfare, and I was a constant runaway. I lived in Edmonton. I wouldn't stay anywhere for more than an hour at a time. I hitchhiked 3 times when I was 13 from Edmonton to Toronto. I was in a place called Bosco Ranch. It was in the middle of nowhere. One dirt road in, one dirt road out. And otherwise you could get through the bush and around the lake. And your minimum stay was 2 years before they let you go. The first time I ran away, the day hadn't been done yet. So I was smart then. I learned I followed the tree line. You don't follow the tree line because they're going to be looking for you there, right? So the second time I ran away with this girl, and like they chase after you with the quads and stuff like that, right? And they put you in a padded room and they caught you, right? Like it was like serious, like it was like out there in the middle of nowhere. And for the first time we ran away, we went through the bush around the lake, and out through the bush. It took us 9 hours the first time to get to the nearest road other than that one road. And then the second time we started hitchhiking, we decided like we have to be gone 2 weeks, otherwise we're gonna get these beds are hard to get. We got to be gone 2 weeks, that way our bed will be gone, right? And so the first time we hitchhiked, we made it to Ontario, and then they thought we were tree planters, and there was a couple of bear attacks, and we ended up being escorted back by car from one province to another in vehicles. We sleep in the hotel one night, like separate hotel rooms, and we just every province would take over and made it back to Ontario, and then we hitchhiked again, and we only made it to Winnipeg, and she was flashing truckers, and I didn't think we were safe that way, and I told her to stop, and she didn't want to stop, so I went my separate ways with her. But
what was she doing with truckers?
Like she would flash them.
Oh, I see. And how old were you then?
I was 14.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I lived in a halfway house for women coming off parole when I was 15, when I was pregnant with my first son.
Okay.
It was / group home, but I was actually the only person that ever was a friend of theirs for women coming off federal parole. Yeah, because I didn't know what to do with me. I just wouldn't stay put. Like I was in a place called Yellowhead Youth Center before I went to that Bosco Ranch, and like I was in and out, and there was a minimum 30-day stay, but they couldn't do anything for me because I didn't have any issues where I was trying to harm myself or anybody else. I just wanted to be free because I was like so confined when I was younger, and I had a lot of issues, and I didn't really. I was moved into a lot of foster homes after I got apprehended because I was really depressed, and people thought I was going to harm myself, which I never had any intentions to. But so people got scared of me being in their homes, so they would get me to go to another home. I was in like about 9 homes in 2 years, so that's why I started running away.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the reason I started running away, and I wouldn't stay put here. Yeah. So when I was 15, I got pregnant, and I stayed up there. That's when I had my first son, and then, I don't know. I ended up moving. I moved here though. My social worker, when I was 14, she decided, well, we're going to try to fly Charlene to Langley, put her in a treatment center there because obviously Alberta's not good for her. And I just ran away and I came down here, right?
Okay, so you've been
here I was 14.
For how
No, but then I left though when I was like, I've been here, and then it was 14, 15, I was here, and then I moved back to Edmonton when I was 15, and I had my son, and then I moved back here, and then when I was 23, after I met my dad, I moved to Toronto with my second son's father, and I lived there till I was 26, and then I moved here, and I've been here ever since.
Okay, so
well,
how
I moved
old
to
are you now,
Edmonton.
do you mind?
I'm 37.
37. So you've been here since you were
26.
26. Yeah. Okay. All right. And you've got a place to stay now, and take a break here. So have you been interested in or able to keep in touch with your mother at all?
When I moved to Toronto when I was 23, I got pregnant with my son, and I decided that I was going to contact my mother because I hadn't seen her in 10 years, and to me she was old already, but she really wasn't. But I didn't want my mom to die without us having any contact, right? I didn't. So I contacted her. My son's father was a bricklayer, and I was on disability. And for a year and a half, she said she was clean, and so she said she was back on the rent, right? So for a year and a half, I was giving her $350 a month, and then my son's father ended up putting me in the hospital on my son's first Christmas. And when I got out, my son was apprehended, but they could let me keep him 5 days out of the 7 days a week. But I started drinking really heavily, and I would go, and they didn't know though, I was such a functioning alcoholic that I go to the meetings that they put me in trouble for the meetings and all the programs, and they were going to give me my son back. But I looked at my son in his crib, and I was like, at this point I was like such a heavy drinker, I was getting sick with my first beer of the morning, right? And I looked at my son, and I told myself, I can't do this to my son, you know what I mean? I'm not well, and he deserves better. And So I told Charlene really what was happening, and he went with my son's father, my son's my grandmother, and my mom. Like during this whole time, my mom, she never tried to. Like I was talking to her on the phone, but she never said, "Oh, go to treatment." You know, she just said, "Give your son up to his grandmother. You're not able to take care of him, and come be with me in Edmonton." And so that's what I did.
You went and live with your mother?
No, yeah, well, I didn't kind of live with her. I went there, and within, like, I hadn't seen her 10 years. Within an hour, I paid her rent, and I gave her the money that I usually gave her every month. And she fucked up for like 2 days, and she went and smoked crack. And then every time that she wanted to smoke crack, she'd kick me out in the middle of winter time. It was in Edmonton, and it's minus 30 there. One shelter. There they have no like resources for people. Like and it takes so long to get on welfare. You mean because there's a lot of work apparently. Every time she wanted to smoke crack and she didn't want to feel guilty about it, she'd make something up and she'd kick me out and I'd have to go stay at which was pretty much I stayed at the shelter and for like the duration I was in Edmonton. But then I decided I was going to go move with my baby's daddy, the one that I got pregnant with when I was 15, on his reserve because I was too cold and I had really nowhere to go. And we ended up coming back for his court date, and my mom, she kicked me out. And she told him that he could, but when I wasn't around, that he could come back later if he wanted to. Yeah, and then
so she invited him back.
Yes,
okay.
And then like we were going to hitchhike back to Slave Lake. That's where we came from Edmonton, and we were poorly dressed. But I contacted her and we were almost there, and we were short for money for the bus, right? She's like, okay, come back. It was welfare day. She's like, come back and I'll give you some money. Well, we got there. She handed me a toonie. She handed me a toonie,
wow.
and she told me, and I was like, what? It's going to cost us more money to get back to
Wow.
I couldn't believe that one.
So really never ended up working out in any which way with your mother?
She never took responsibility for anything she did. It was always our fault. We did something, you know what I mean? Like, sociopaths, they don't know how to take responsibility. They're not incapable of love, right?
You said you worked on your stuff.
I've worked on, I just...
And you were able to forgive her.
Yeah, I believe forgiveness, I know forgiveness is a choice, it's not a feeling, it's not whether it's a choice, right? And I did it for me mostly, but then also I believe like when you die, if you have hate in your heart, you can't go anywhere other than maybe back here or wherever, but like you mean, like wherever it's better out there for us. If you have a hate for anybody in your heart, then you're not gonna be able to move on to the next life. So therefore, I choose to forgive everybody, not just her. You know,
I can't imagine that at all easy. I mean, just from what you told me, that's
come here.
That's very remarkable.
Yeah, Luna, come here. Luna, come here.
Okay, Charlene, I know that your dogs want to go and play. They're already playing, and they don't seem to be able to wait much longer. So I'll let you go. But thank you so much for talking to me. That was a lot of very difficult things you said, and sorry you had to go there. But I really appreciate it, and I definitely wish you all the best.
Thank you.
If there's anything I can do to help you, just let me know.
You gotta help yourself. Right?
So, like you said earlier, no one chose to be down here.
No, nobody really chooses to be down here. Most people don't choose to be down here. Actually, they would rather not be down here. It's just they get stuck, right? And it's a big sickness, right? And not having support and having abusive, like just having trauma, mostly through childhood. Most people down here have had very bad childhoods, right? And then it led them to do drugs, whether their families already did drugs or how they got introduced to it, I don't know. But that's the reason why people come down here. There's not very many people down here that have really good childhoods or have good families at home. Well, I don't know that actually. That's just my opinion. But I know there's there's some people who have support down here, but mostly it comes to their childhoods weren't the greatest. That's what I hear.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,